Scared for Reals.
Hey, it's Chris O'Neill.
And Adam Perry.
All right. Before I go into this week's movie, I always forget this week, Adam. Don't forget to subscribe, on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, at Scared for Reals. That's our handle. So we have a new horror thriller movie. Seems like we're getting a lot of these, aren't we, Adam?
It has been one hell of a year for horror movies, 2024.
Right. And speaking of hell,
yeah,
we have a brand new movie, Longlegs. Nicolas Cage. You have Micah Monroe, who she probably remember her from It Follows. That was her big breakout role. Mm-hmm. And then she was in The Guest, came out the same year. So she's been crushing it. About 10 years in the supernatural thriller horror film world. And Longlegs is directed by Osgood Perkins. And Adam, I didn't realize that Osgood is actually the son of Anthony Perkins.
Wow.
Yeah. And his big film debut was Psycho 2.
All right.
So he's no stranger to the horror film genre.
I'd say not.
No, so Longlegs, very interesting film. I mean, it doesn't sound like from the title that it's anything decent. And I love how the trailer doesn't give much away. Mm-hmm. Because this is a movie, the less you know about it going in, the better. So that means, spoiler alert, we're going to be discussing this film from beginning to end. And unfortunately, Adam did not get out to see this movie.
Yes. Unfortunately, not to make excuses for myself, but life's just been too busy to get to the movies. But I am catching up.
Yeah,
I am catching up.
Yeah, it's hard, especially when Longlegs is not in every single theater,
right.
Like Inside Out 2 and all the other sequels.
Yeah,
I might add, this is an original concept, which we could have a huge discussion on how it seems like adult-oriented dramas, films, horror movies seem to suffer in comparison because we're stuck with these sequels and. Everyone. This is one thing that drives me nuts. I know I'm going off on another tangent here, but everyone screams, "We need original ideas from Hollywood." So here you go. You have this Longlegs by Osgood Perkins. You have Kevin Costner, his new epic western that he wrote from scratch. And you have Challengers that came out earlier this year, not my cup of tea, but you also have the movie about the fake moon landing. Again, not my cup of tea, but got some good adult-oriented movies that seem to have some original ideas or something that's never been presented before. And some of these movies are just tanking. So it's one of those things that like, okay, you scream original ideas, but you don't show up to support them, which is interesting. But this movie, I don't know the budget, but I don't think it's that huge. And it's set to gross like between $15 and $20 million. I mean, this movie, show was almost, I would say about 65% sold out when I watched it Friday afternoon. And I'm pretty certain that later showings, they were sold out. I was seeing it all over social media, people trying to get tickets, and they literally had to drive like an hour away.
Wow.
Just to see it. Well, I had to drive an hour away because, we've got a theater here that, you've got like 4 or 5 screens out of 9 that are catered to the big blockbuster sequels and the ones that people complain about, but yet,
will spend their money on.
Right. Which I'm not faulting that because I've done plenty of that in the past too. I'm trying to focus more of my time on stuff I really want to see, and thankfully my wife is starting to get tired of these endless sequels. And you got a new Marvel movie coming out in a couple weeks. It's probably going to make $1 kajillion while other movies continue to tank. And again, they'll probably come out, oh, that wasn't that good. Then why'd you go to it in the first place? You knew what you were going to get when you go to a Marvel movie. It's not going to. It's very rare, especially in the past 5 years, that a Marvel movie is going to surprise anybody because you pay for what you get and you know what you're going to get. So it's just frustrating.
I'll say the particular Marvel movie you're talking about that's coming out in a couple weeks, though, has the potential of being a little different than what's been thrown out the last with the return of Hugh Jackman. That is a big game changer. Plus, it's also a Deadpool movie, this is the first time Disney's helming a Deadpool movie. So there's going to be a lot of interest to see how Disney handles Deadpool as compared to Fox. Plus, so I mean, like this. I agree with you for the most part about how Marvel's gone about their movies over the last 5 years. I'm saying this one has the potential to be a little bit different given the circumstances that we're getting with it.
It's going to be popular. It's going to make $1 gajillion, but I guarantee there's going to be a lot of people that are going to come out disappointed.
Well, everybody comes out disappointed in anything.
I know.
You know.
But these are the same people that want original ideas from Hollywood. That's all I'm saying. It's just something that I hear all the time, just talking movies with coworkers, friends, saying that there's no original ideas, and I point to several instances, and it's like you don't want to watch a preview before you judge on it. You know, like Longlegs, a lot of people were enticed by the preview. Again, this movie's not going to attract everybody, but if you're a fan of thrillers, horror movies, this is something you need to see. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I'm just, Kevin Costner's new movie as another example. It doesn't, if you're a Kevin Costner fan, if you're a fan of just adult-oriented movies, I mean, Open Range was such a great movie. Mm-hmm. So if you like that movie, you got to see this one, Horizon. Mm-hmm. They pulled the plug on it. It's like, okay, it met all the expectations of how much it was supposed to make. So why are you canceling the movie? So it's just one of those things, especially when the guy pretty much financed a good chunk of it himself. So I just hope it sees the light of day, but it's just, anyway, rant over. If you're screaming that you want original ideas, there's plenty of options out there, like this one, Longlegs. Again, directed by Osgood Perkins. So, Adam, this takes place in the 1970s. It literally opens with a T-Rex quote. It wasn't a song I recognized. Otherwise, I would have remembered exactly what was put on the screen. But it's literally quoting a T-Rex, and they were so huge in the early 70s.
Yeah.
So it all takes place in Oregon. A little girl, she's got this camera, follows a mysterious voice behind her house. And I love that the opening shot, Adam. I know you love horror and thrillers. This will grab you from the word go. And I know I'm spoiling it for you. I hope I don't spoil it too badly for you.
No, so I tell my brother and I tell my friends all the time. Tell me about the movie. I'm going to go see it regardless.
Right.
I don't get spoiled by spoilers. Let's just say that.
Right. Right. I'm one of those guys. It doesn't deter me if I know the ending for a movie. Yeah. But at the same time, I want to go in knowing as little as possible. Like, I thought my mom had spoiled Psycho for me by telling me about the shower sequence. And it's like, man, still an hour left of the movie.
Right, yeah.
Which I was definitely hooked. So this movie, again, 1970s Oregon, this girl hears a weird voice, and she's approached by this erratic man with a pale white face who mentions that it's almost her birthday. And it's Nicolas Cage playing that part. Now, Adam, I don't know how you feel about Nicolas Cage. Sometimes his over-the-top stuff where he acts really like batty over the top is kind of silly and funny. I could tell you with this movie, his over-the-topness doesn't make you laugh. You are really creeped out. Seriously creeped out. And I never thought that would happen because, I like Nicolas Cage somewhat. I love Bringing Out the Dead, as I talked about when we were discussing 1999.
Right.
I mean, Leaving Las Vegas, he was brilliant, even though the movie, I can't really watch it too many times.
Right.
It's so depressing. Adaptation was awesome. Matchstick Men was kind of cool. Even Family Man was actually pretty good. But, there's also Face Off, which he's so hammy and over the top. It's a little too much. You know what I mean?
Not a fan of Con Air?
Con Air was, no. Again, he had some moments where he was over the top. And this movie, his over the topness just works wonders. And you're just like creeped out from the moment you see him. And you don't see his face right off the bat,
Right.
which I think is effective. So it kind of suspends oh, what does this guy look like? You know it's Nicolas Cage. Anybody who, I mean, he's just such a huge part of our culture, you know?
Yeah.
But when you see his face, it's like, oh, man. So after that whole sequence, a little girl, camera, you see, him kind of just, hey, it's almost your birthday. And he has like a gift for her. And it's like, oh my God, he's going to kill this girl right off the bat. But then it cuts. You get to go into the 1990s now. So it's like 20 years later, approximately. You got this newly recruited FBI agent named Lee Harker, who's played by Micah Monroe, who's actually the main character, even though the movie's Longlegs. So she has this interesting intuition. It's almost psychic-like. She can kind of foresee what happens because she's assigned this partner, and they're looking for this guy right now, and she has the intuition that he's in this house. So the other FBI agent she's with, he's more kind of a cocky guy, and he's kind of treating her, oh, you're new recruit. I'll take the lead on this. I'll go to the door. Knocks on the door. Hey, FBI, and the door opens. Boom, he gets shot in the head right off the bat. So it's just one of those like startling scenes of violence. It's just like, whoa,
jump scare.
You knew something was going to happen to the guy, but not like right off the bat. So through testing, she is theorized to have possible clairvoyance. So as a result, she's assigned to a decade-spanning case of these brutal murder-suicides involving families throughout the state. Now, of course, each case, it's like a pattern. All these serial killer movies, there's a pattern, a reason why that they're doing this. And each incident has the father murdering his wife, his children, and then committing suicide. So, and they're left, each scene of the crime, there's this letter with cryptic satanic coding.
Okay.
Yeah, which is, I don't know anything about Satan other than that this guy is evil and probably should stay away from Satan. We do our best anyways. And it's signed by Longlegs at the bottom. Now, the handwriting belongs to none of the victims. So you would think that the father, killing his family, he would leave some sort of note.
Right.
But there is no note, or because they match the penmanship and it doesn't match. So despite no forensic evidence of anything weird or something going on, she literally connects similarities between the families, because this is the thing, Adam. Each one had at least one 9-year-old daughter born on the 14th of the month.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the murders all occurred within 6 days before or after the birthday itself. And I guess like she writes them out on a linear calendar, and the dates of the murders form an occult symbol of an inverted triangle. I'm sure you've seen this pop up somewhere.
Yep.
So with one date missing to complete the shape. So following these clues, and I got to say, her commanding officer, Blair Underwood, I don't know if you've seen him in any movies. They don't really, he's never been 100% utilized, in my opinion. In this movie, his persona is awesome in this.
Cool.
He's like, hey, let's go out for a drink. Well, I don't drink. Well, I drink, you talk. That's basically, he gets hammered and, okay, you got to drive me home. And he's putting breath stuff in his mouth so his wife doesn't smell the reeking alcohol coming out. So there's a little tongue-in-cheek humor here, and Blair Underwood does such a great job with this. I didn't see a lot of his movies. I know like a lot of the romance films of the early 2000s. I want to say Love Jones off the top of my head, but I can't remember all of the movies. But he was in a lot of those romance films, and not really my cup of tea, Adam. I don't know about you, but it's good to see Blair Underwood he looks so relaxed and chill, and having fun with the role, which is always good. But anyways, that's her superior officer, and they're working together on this. So, following a clue, Lee and her commanding officer, they unearth this doll buried beneath one of the former crime scenes, and inside the head of the doll, they find this weird metal orb. So she sees violent psychic flashes when they interact with it, which, it does have a meaning. And the examiner assisting them admits that he thought he had heard his ex-wife's name while near the doll. So, very interesting.
Metal orb is the twist of this movie. It's another phantasm.
Well, not exactly phantasm. I mean, phantasm kind of goes into the fantasy realm quite a bit.
I'm joking.
Yeah. Adam is laughing about two very unfunny movies.
I love the original Phantasm.
Yeah,
the original Phantasm is fantastic.
I love that movie too.
Yeah.
Gosh, that movie's like 45 years old now.
Yeah, we'll have to put that on the list to talk about soon.
Yeah, well, the problem is I hope we don't have to watch the other ones. I just don't dare.
Oh, I don't care about the other, but the original.
Have you seen any of the other
I've
ones?
watched a couple of them. I mean, obviously, I'll give it its due respect. It's all written and directed by the same guy.
Right.
So that's literally his own world.
Mm-hmm.
But
the tall man's pretty creepy.
He wrote the liner notes for all the Beatles records.
That guy, the tall man.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. We'll have to do a Phantasm show soon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff about that movie to talk about.
Yeah.
But,
it's just one of those movies that it didn't do like a huge amount. It was just another horror movie that got released, but man, oh man, 45 years later.
Yeah, his name was Angus Grimm. Before he got into acting, he was a writer for. He did liner notes for bands, and he did most of the Beatles records.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got these strange orbs that are put inside the heads of these dolls. Very, very interesting. So Micah Monroe Carter, the FBI agent Carter, unearthed a doll buried beneath one of the former crime scenes, and as she sees these violent psychic flashes, again, the examiner assisting them admits that he thought he had heard his ex-wife's name while near the doll. So, I mean, at this point, there is some skepticism here. Micah Monroe's character, the FBI agent, but her theory is that each family received a similar doll from Longlegs and has been infusing the orbs within each doll with the same sort of evil energy that can possess and influence those near it. So, at this point, a lot of her colleagues think she's kind of burnt out, and Blair Underwood's like, hey, go home, see your mom and stuff. She keeps calling, and so she decides to go home to her mom. You remember that there was the Sybil Shepherd show?
Yep.
Alicia Witt. You remember her in that? She was the daughter.
Yes. Yep.
She plays the mom in this movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So while she's visiting her mom, Ruth, she finds a chest in her childhood bedroom, which contains a stack of, Polaroids from a camera. Are you starting to connect the pieces now? Or
A little, yeah.
Yeah. So among them is a picture of the pale-faced guy, revealing her to be the girl from the introduction of the film. So were you going to guess that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So knowing that she was visited by Longlegs himself, she submits the picture, allowing the FBI to track him down, arrest him, and the interrogation scene is pretty intense because this is like the first time she's been face-to-face with Longlegs since she was a little girl. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine how she's feeling at this point.
right.
Because that's a pretty creepy guy.
Yeah. It's intimidating.
Yes. So Longlegs, he starts monologuing here, expressing his desire to see her, and he tells her to question her mom's involvements in his crimes. And he serves the man downstairs, which... Mm-hmm. So revealing all this information is like, why is my mom involved in this? So he starts muttering "Hail Satan" to himself, and before, I mean, imagine getting all this information, Hey, this is the creepy guy you met when you were just a 9-year-old girl, and hey, your mom is involved in some of these crimes, and hail Satan.
Yeah.
And then, by the time she has any opportunity to react to all these shocking things, Longlegs begins bashing his face into the table, causing her to be like, oh my God. She starts screaming a little bit, and he sinks forward, dead, of course. So the detectives swarm the room, and of course, Blair Underwood's kind of ticked off and confronts her about her involvement. So wanting to confront her mom about her connection to Longlegs, she drives to her house with another FBI agent, and she's, why you don't need to be here. And she's like, well, you've been through a lot of stress at this point.
Yeah.
And she also probably wants to know, hopefully she's not like her mom or anything like that. So she's searching around looking for her mom. She can't find her mom anywhere. And then, she looks outside the window, and her mom's got a shotgun, and she shoots the window of the driver's side because the FBI agent that was with her was driving the car. And then she moves around to the passenger side just to make sure.
Yeah.
Fires another round. So... yeah, imagine, you witness your mom, like, literally annihilating one of your colleagues like that. It's like,
yeah.
How would you react to that, Adam?
That's
it's pretty shocking.
Traumatizing. That's we have to sit down and think about this for a second.
Right. So she races outside to find her mom shooting the head off a doll resembling a younger her. So it seems like these dolls were created to look like the young girls that they were targeting. So she faints, loses consciousness, and it's been revealed Ruth has been Longlegs' accomplice ever since her encounter with him when she was just a girl. And there's this real long flashback kind of, it's not really long, but it kind of sums everything up for us.
Yeah.
So Longlegs returned in the night to attack and subdue Ruth, forcing her to make a choice: let her daughter be murdered as part of the ritual, or to do his bidding to spare her. She complied, leaving her daughter to be the missing birthday on the triangle, because she's really connecting the dots and this one doesn't make any sense. So, and I'm surprised at that point when she was early in the movie trying to connect the dots, she's doing the inverted triangle and everything, that she didn't put two and two together at that point. But again, it's maybe she didn't want to believe, or she forgot, who knows. So that's the thing. Early in the movie, when she goes over to Blair Underwood's house, she meets a young girl named Ruby, his daughter, and they kind of form a bond. Micah Monroe's character is kind of awkward, know. It seems like people who have these psychic abilities seem to be awkward. I don't know if you've noticed that in movies.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
So, and she's no exception, but, hey, come to my birthday party,
Yeah.
And come to find out, she's turning 9. So.
Number 9.
Number
9.
Have you ever tried playing that album backwards?
Yes. Yes.
Is it really true? I haven't. Yes, I don't have an album.
Yeah, you can hear the messages.
Yeah.
We're trailing off here into music land and the Beatles.
I know you're a huge Beatles fan.
I'm a huge Beatles fan, and I've actually read, and McCartney has admitted that during the years when they weren't touring, they would purposely put in little jabs and jibs so to see if the other ones would catch it.
The other ones?
The other Beatles.
Oh.
So it was a kind of an inside joke. And someone started to hear those little, hidden recordings and hidden sayings, and it turned into the whole Paul is dead conspiracy. Paul McCartney never died. He was in a car accident, but he never died.
He was walking. He was the only one walking across the street barefoot, while the other ones had shoes
and he
on.
said that was because it was a hot day. He was wearing shoes, and he just kicked them off before they did the, conspiracy theory debunked.
Right. Right.
But
So, getting back to the movie, the FBI agent, Micah Monroe, she's in the basement, okay, and she answers the phone to hear, "You're late for Ruby's party." Realizing at that point Blair Underwood's daughter, Ruby, has her 9th birthday, and the Carter's death would complete the triangle for Longlegs. Even though he's dead.
Yeah.
But we all know that, he worked for Satan. So
Sure.
Satan's the ultimate villain.
Always, isn't he?
Yes. More ways than one. So, of course, she tries to intervene only to discover that Ruth, her mom, had already delivered the doll. And they are all pretty much possessed. She's like, oh, no. She could tell by the way they answer the door.
Yeah.
She could tell, oh, no. She's too late. So he murders his wife out in the kitchen. You literally hear a gun go off. Mm-hmm. So the FBI agent shoots and kills him because he's ready to kill Ruby.
Right.
And Ruth, her mom, brandishes a dagger and praises Satan, and she's forced to kill her mom as well. Gosh, that really sucks.
Wow.
So, and afterwards, because she knows at this point that the doll is the reason why these people are possessed. I mean, she literally now has put everything together because she kind of pointed it out earlier. She thought that Longlegs himself put the evilness inside the doll's head as a way to possess the husband, the father, in all these families. So she tries to shoot the doll, but guess what, Adam? Her gun is empty.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah, she tells Ruby they need to leave, but they're kind of like frozen in place at all the events that had just conspired at this point. So, like, literally staring at the doll is Ruby emotionally, like she's literally has no emotion after seeing her family like die.
Yeah.
You would think like there'd be some sort of, but she's possessed by the doll, so.
Yeah.
So Ruby's just emotionless. She just waits behind her, and that's how the movie ends, Adam. And there are some critics who have watched the movie, and they've pressed Osgood to try to reveal what that ending meant, and he's just like, I'm done with that. I'm washing my hands of that. So it's
use your own imagination.
Right. But one thing Micah Monroe revealed in the interview, it's the fact that evil is timeless and evil just is always there. Mm-hmm. And that's a good point because, no matter you stop the villain this time, it's just a matter of time before it happens again. Look at Jason. Look at Mike Myers. They keep coming back.
But that's just I guess when we really break down any movie, it's always a story. Most of the time, good and evil, right or wrong. It's yin and yang. It's just
right.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's until you live to fight another day until that comes back or something comes back to take its place, and that's just storytelling.
Yeah. Right. Well, and Longlegs is the main antagonist of the story, but he's just a pawn for Satan.
Yeah.
You don't find that out until like over the halfway point of the movie. But there's all sorts of references to the Book of Revelations, and you even get to see like glimpses of demonic phantoms like here and there. So it's a pretty intense movie.
Yeah.
It's just if you want to be in a good mood, wait till you're in a bad mood because it's really good. It just has a sense of dread from the start, and it's a decent one. Not everything 100% works, but it's still an awesome movie, and there's obvious nods to Seven, Silence of the Lambs. And even Zodiac. I really didn't like Zodiac. I'm one of the few guys online that, it seems like everyone loves that movie. And it's like,
yeah, as you were going over the plot and synopsis of the movie, right from the rip, I got Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
Feel.
Well, FBI agent, troubled past.
Yep.
Immediately you think of Silence of the Lambs. But apparently Osgood says the whole, twisting the basement, the psychic bridge connecting her to Longlegs and everything. The twist was actually of his relationship with his own parents, apparently. He goes, I try not to tell my children any protective lies, having grown up in a family where certain truths were curated, not maliciously and with any kind of cruelty or dismissiveness, but as like a move to sustain the family and keep things together. That's what he told some reporters. So he also added the idea that a mom in this case can create a story, a lie, a narrative, a version, and dress their children in it, like one of those hazmat suits. It's definitely where the movie came from. It. He said it's the kernel of a truth that started the process. And I think that he literally said the first shot of the movie, or first time he started filming, was the opening shot itself, and that opening shot is going to be talked about, I think, for a while.
Yeah,
it's pretty damn unforgettable, I have to say.
Wow.
So I highly recommend Longlegs. See it in the theaters, for crying out loud, so they keep making these adult-oriented films and not these endless sequels. It's like I'm not dissing them, because some of the sequels are not bad. I'm guilty of enjoying some sequels too, but let's leave some room open, and for other movies. It's also frustrating because you can't completely blame it on that. Mm-hmm. As I've mentioned over and over again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, and since we're talking about horror movie, you can probably visualize that. But yeah, it's just crazy how, movies like Horizon, they've even done it with this movie. They did it with Furiosa. Like literally before the movie comes out, they've announced a Blu-ray 4K release. Mm-hmm. And while Fall Guy in its first week in theaters going to be streaming 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we're if you're like, you don't have one of those unlimited memberships, and even if you have an unlimited membership, it's like, okay, well, time is valuable. And so is the money that you have to put forth. So you want to make sure it's a fun experience. I don't know about you, Adam, but if it's going to be out on Blu-ray 4K, or if it's going to be streaming, you probably aren't going to be as excited to go. Especially if you know it's coming out like, 2 weeks? Oh, okay, I can wait for that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
how do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that? There is a magic to go into the movie theaters and watching a movie, sitting in the auditorium and the stadium. There is an experience, and it's a dying experience, unfortunately. But as again, we've talked music a lot in this show as well. When I'm in discussions with other friends about music and we got to remind everybody that it's not the music entertainment. It's not the music art.
Business.
It's the music business, and
right.
And this is the movie business. So unfortunately, when it comes to movies like these, the ones that aren't going to get the attention like the Marvel blockbuster or the Minions or whatever else is coming out, this is where you as much as it sucks, you kind of got to be grateful that there is a streaming, that people are still getting their workout, even though it's not getting the justice of being shown on the big screen. Like
that's how they make their money, is having it on the big screen, though. That's how they make most of their money. They don't receive as much from the streaming platforms.
In yesteryear, yes. Now it's more of contracting your movie out and making instead of getting a cut of the gross, you're getting $10 million for whatever streaming service wants to throw your movie on there for a couple weeks, for a couple months. Then you'll get the movie back, and then you can sell it to another streaming service, and and make another couple $1 million.
But some of these movies have like $200 million. You've got to make that back somehow, and if you have it in the theaters for a little while, there's a good opportunity.
But if no one's going to the theaters because it's easier to watch it on streaming, that's where, again, this is where the business side of the business comes in. How are you negotiating?
Look what they did back in the 90s. I mean, it could still work today, potentially. I'm not going to say it's going to work 100% of the time, but you had to wait almost a year before you could see it on TV. You had to wait almost a year before you could buy it on home video.
Yeah, but they weren't spending $500 million on a movie in the 90s.
No.
They need to get their money back however they can nowadays.
Yeah.
So whether it's in the movies for a month or in, then the 5 or 6 different copies of the Blu-ray that they can get out there and whatever money they can make off of any streaming service that's willing to pay them, it's...
Well, thankfully, Furiosa, I think, made a little bit of money back, but it barely broke even. But it doesn't help a movie when you announce that it's going to be on streaming within a couple weeks. Can't they wait like 5 months? I mean, it's not like I can see if it's a movie made directly for streaming. That's a different story.
But I guess the question is what do we consider now as a successful movie making your money back? Again, the game has changed so much with streaming. I mean, back in the 90s, letting it sit in the theater, 70s, 80s, letting it sit in the theater, that was the game plan to get your money back. That's not the game anymore.
No.
No. So it's,
you can let it sit there for a few weeks. I mean,
but if it's going to cost you more money to pay the theaters and, to show the movie when you can just put it on your own, like if you're Disney, you can put it on your own streaming service and get another 200 million more purchases of the app.
Potentially.
Yeah, but everything's potentially when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
Even back in the day, when it was just theater driven and video rental, everything is potential. Nothing's guaranteed.
Right. So sometimes you got to take a gamble on something, and when you estimate like that Kevin Costner movie Horizon, it's going to make between 12 and 13 million in its opening weekend, and it hit that number. Why not let it stay and see how it goes?
Well, you said it yourself. Kevin Costner financed this whole thing.
Well, not all of it, but some of it.
But again, he still needs to pay to keep that movie in the theaters.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's just made his budget back, does he still have the revenue to, because, I mean, again, part of the budget is putting the movie into the theaters.
Yeah.
All right.
So
if he's just made his money back, we don't know what, his finances are, but just assuming, does he have the money to keep it going? Mm-hmm. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe now the next step is to try to, put it on a DVD or a Blu-ray or 4K.
Well, they've already announced the 4K, so it's coming out. So.
Okay, well, then that's the next step in the plan.
He's got 3 other chapters, and one was supposed to come out next month, and now they've it's not going to get released right now. So.
Well, I mean,
But I know it's business, but at the same time, it's also entertainment, and
right.
And they need to find a way. Okay, maybe we're not going to come up with the answers just sitting here debating back and forth, but they need to find a way to make it so, okay, because there are people that like to go to the theaters, but they need to create excitement to go. Hollywood is kind of shooting itself in the foot here, because there's been a lot of problems with the streaming side of things too. A lot of problems with it.
Yeah, but they're still making money hand over fist, Chris. They're not. It's not like the industry is dying by any means. They're still finding ways to make insane amounts of money off their movies, whether it's streaming or in the movie theater. So it's not like the art is drowning. It's the exact opposite. And again, I'm just arguing. I love going to the theater. I love the theater experience. But I'm playing devil's advocate for you. With all the streaming services that we have available to us.
Which has almost become like cable in a way, too.
Yeah, into our disposal. You can make money in so many different ways.
But you miss the experience of sharing it with other people, though.
They don't care as long as they make their money back.
I know they've never, Adam, they've never cared, even when a movie's in a theater. Yeah. Like back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, they still didn't care.
Right.
They just wanted their money. That's what it's always been about. I get that. But you want to make even more money, why not take some risks and do something differently? Because, hey, if you see one side of your industry is struggling, why not do something to keep it going so you can make even more money potentially everything's potentially, but why not try to see if you can do something there that's more positive?
One thing, if there's two things you can guarantee about the movie industry, and particularly Hollywood, they're going to go with whatever's easiest and whatever's going to make them the most money. They don't care about anything else.
I know, but they can still make money.
So distributing some wealth to boost the theater experience, if they're not going to care about that, they're just going to care about making their money back.
Well, but look at last summer was a huge thing. You had 2 non-franchised movies make like almost $2 billion. Mm-hmm. So why not create some marketing, have some fun? I mean, there's nothing that Barbie and Oppenheimer had in common. Right. Nothing.
Right.
2 completely different movies, and they just happened to get released the same weekend, and they both drove people to the box office like crazy. I know they're going to be trying to do that, I think, in November with a couple of different movies. I can't remember off the top of my head, but create excitement. Marketing people, it's like, be creative. It's okay to be creative.
Well, I mean, they're doing that with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, that movie's gonna be a huge hit. I'm not talking about that. Yeah. It's like, let's, you can create an awesome marketing hype and make tons of money, billions. It's been proven you can do it. You just got to do it. You got to take a risk on some of these movies. And Barbie and Oppenheimer both had massive studios backing them.
Right.
So that helps. But they had massive studios backing Kevin Costner's movie. They've had massive studios. I mean, Furiosa was a huge movie. And again, it's a franchise. So, yeah.
Again, Chris, it's
just frustrating. I'm a movie fan, and so aren't you. And it's just there's no excitement about going to the theaters anymore for people. It's sad.
Yeah,
because it's a fun experience. You get it's an intimate experience with the big screen. You bring your partner with you, and you just escape from reality for a couple hours, or in some case, 3 hours.
I totally agree with you.
And you share it with a bunch of people. And there's no experience like it. I love watching movies at home too, but man, oh man, there's nothing that beats watching a movie like The Departed and hearing the audience react all in unison at the same time, same scene, same with No Country for Old Men. A year later, it's like complete silence from the audience. You can feel the tension, and you're sharing it with a bunch of people. I know social media's there's a lot of things to blame, but it's just being in the theater with people. You get out and you get to do something, Adam. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that.
No. And I'm not saying.
I know you're wrong. I'm just debating. I know.
Yeah, I'm just saying that. Like I said, it's the movie business, and wherever they can make money, save money, and get the most money is going to be priority over.
And it's always been that way.
Yeah,
and it always will.
Yeah,
be.
And over what your audience wants, or potential audience wants. So
but there's been a lot of ups and downs in the streaming side of things. Netflix, they've been going through hell trying to keep subscribers, and
but what gives me hope, Chris, is I think where the big theaters are the big companies, the Disneys, the Universals, the Warner Brothers, where they're kind of failing us. I think this is where I think what's going to save the theater industry and save that movie going experience are the independents. Like the Kevin Costner who can make his own movie and finance it.
Look at Coppola. He's got a movie coming out in September. All of it.
Again,
all of it was his money.
Last October, look how big Terrifier 2 was.
Right.
Terrifier
that was all fan-based.
Terrifier 2's budget came from GoFundMe.
Right.
I mean,
and it came from the fans because he literally said, I'm going to stick this in these theaters this weekend, and if you go, I'm going to expand it next week, and it kept growing and growing.
I mean, do you realize our little local drive-in played Terrifier 2?
Yeah, I saw that.
Between Halloween Ends and I think Pearl.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you kidding me? Like this. So I think that's what, if anything's going to save the theater experience. It's going to be the indie
And again,
experience.
marketing.
Look
it all comes
look
down
at
to
the X
marketing.
trilogy. Look how popular the X trilogy is.
Yeah.
Budgets that are $1 million.
Right. And Maxine had the biggest opening of the three.
Yeah. And so there is hope.
Right.
Outside the major studios.
But there's still people that look at like Maxine's opening weekend and Pearl's. Oh, it tanked. No, it made money. It made a profit.
Well, that's because they just they
always go by millions and like the number one has to be number one. And
well, no,
that's.
There's a point to that, but unless you like go looking for it, you're only going to see what they made. You don't see what they're compared to their budget.
Right.
Like what we're talking Longlegs right now on Wikipedia, they're. All it's showing me is box office gross is $10 million.
It made it one day. Someone said that it made it $10 million in one day.
Yeah, but they're also not showing me what's that compared to their budget.
Right. Yeah, I tried to find the budget, but from what I understand, it wasn't a huge amount. I mean, yeah, Nicolas Cage is pretty much what you're paying for. And that's,
again,
he produced it.
You don't need to make $200 million to be a success.
No.
Because. Again, if your budget is almost $1 billion, yeah, grossing $2 billion is a success.
Right.
But if your budget is $3-4 million,
right,
and you crank out $20 million at the box office, that's a success.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and the guy who won the Academy Award, he wrote and directed American Fiction. I'm sure you've heard of that movie.
Right.
He won the Oscar for best screenplay, and he's up there. He goes, instead of trying to make like one $200 million movie, why not make 5 $20 million movies?
Right.
And there is some validity to that. It's like you look at, I hate to keep bringing up Killers of the Flower Moon, but $250 million, 25-30 million of that went to DiCaprio. Right. And I think De Niro, 15 or 20 million for him. So look at that. It's 50 million right there at least.
Right.
And Scorsese gets a few million here and there, so it adds up.
Yeah,
just with the names. So I mean, there's a lot of a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but it all goes down to Hollywood needs to. It's their business, it's their industry, and we're waiting for some good stuff, and you're not creating excitement for this good stuff. Because there's last year there was a lot of good movies out there, and most of them didn't really get much attention because they bombed. Well, they didn't make $250 million back.
But again, just put yourself in. You're the exec of Warner Brothers Universal, and you just paid Leonardo DiCaprio $30 million to be in your movie, whether this movie sucks or not. Compared to the $1 million movie that's going to take the world by storm, I'm promoting the Leonardo DiCaprio movie because I need my $30 million back.
Right.
So again, it's like it's just like all sorts of free market capitalism. If you're willing to spend it, you're digging yourself into a hole. It's just like baseball. I don't think there's any pitcher out there worth $500 million a year.
No.
But if the Yankees are willing to pay it, why would the pitcher not take it?
Right.
Why would Leonardo not take $30 million if Universal or Disney wants to pay him that?
Right.
Change has to come from,
a lot of different places.
From the big studios, they need to, would have to put their foot down and be like, yeah, no, if you want to be in my movie, you're getting the lower budget movies, the indie movies. I think those are the ones that are going to save the actual theater going experience.
But the problem with that, though, again, like we've discussed, like Longlegs is an independent movie, and it's not playing in as many theaters.
No.
So it's frustrating. So hopefully, if it makes like 20, they expect this movie to make 20-something million this weekend. Maybe they'll be like, oh, maybe we can afford to put it in more theaters.
But again, and that's the importance of podcasts like us and blogs. Us who go see these movies to. If they're good,
you got to champion them.
Hype them up.
Right.
Get people excited to go out and see the movie. That's our job.
Right.
That's we don't get paid for this, but that's essentially what we're here to do.
Right.
Is see these movies and say it was a total piece of shit, or this is go check this out. This was a good time.
Right.
It's
right.
So it's to save the actual theater. I mean, there's a whole lot of working gears.
Well, but I think, as I said, create excitement somehow.
Yeah.
And they did that, and it worked for Barbie and Oppenheimer last year.
Right.
It worked. They made $2 billion.
Well, again, I mean,
they can do
put
it.
The Barbie logo on anything, you're going to get.
Well,
buzz,
but it wasn't expected to make like $1.5 billion.
Well, they made a good movie. They made a movie that the general public enjoyed.
Yes. Well,
all right.
Oppenheimer did not cost that much to make, but it cost like $100 something million because all the big names in the movie. But the movie made $1 billion.
Yeah.
So and they marketed those movies together, and it worked. So if you take two opposing movie genres, see if you can, do it the same way again.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it was kind of like, again, perfect storm. Again, Barbie logo, regardless, is going to make you your money back. And again, it just happened that they made a decent movie to go along with the logo. Oppenheimer, you find out, this is about the testing of the atomic bomb. I mean, that's just going to, the history nuts alone are going to show up in droves for that. Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't expected to be the case, though, because Oppenheimer's a 3-hour movie, and a lot of people have a hard time with 3-hour movies.
Which, again,
that's not a John Wick, or it's not a Marvel movie.
And this is what you call a lightning in a bottle movie.
Yeah. And they can do it again.
Yeah, they could do it again, but I mean,
you got to create interest,
the stars
excitement.
need to align for it. I mean, like, all right, you know what would generate interest and almost make its money back interest if they put Masters of the Universe on a poster, and people are going to show up for that.
Except for Dolph Lundgren.
They've been wanting them, since that movie. The Masters of the He-Man fans have been wanting a legit live action,
a good one. Yes.
So if Disney or Mattel or whatever the hell, puts the Masters of the Universe logo on a movie poster and puts it in a movie theater, people are just going to show it, just like Barbie. Mm-hmm. And again, now the trick is, are you going to surprise them with a good movie or a piece of crap?
Right. Well, speaking of Mattel, they're going to do a Polly Pocket movie.
Of course. Of course they are. And you know what? It's probably being pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about all this? The main point was to go out and see Longlegs.
Yes.
And they always complain that there's not a lot of original film ideas for adults. Well, Longlegs is not made for kids. It's not made for teenagers. It's made for adults. And I highly recommend you go see it. It gets a 4-star, easy 4-star rating for me. So did you see Longlegs? Tell us what you thought of it. Did you hate it, or did you think it sucked? Either way, just comment, tell us, reach out to us. We try to be as interactive as possible. So reach out to us through YouTube. Just comment below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And again, we're on X, Instagram, Facebook. Our handle is @ScaredForReals.
We'll see you next time on Scared for Reals.